Welcome to the Meander Travel Podcast, episode number 18. My name is Julie, and I'm sitting next to my husband of 31 years, Tony.
Hello.
We just celebrated our anniversary last week. So thank you for joining us today. As always, we appreciate you. So our topic is about a country that you might not ever have heard of. And believe it or not, it's right next door to Italy. Well, kind of. But could this even be true? I assure you it is. In talking with people about this, including our friends and family, most people did not know about this country or its very unique situation. I will tell you that it looks like it jumped off the pages of a fairy tale. So sit back and get ready to listen to this Cinderella story.
Wheels
Wheels
up.
up.
We're gonna be two hearts running wild.
So here's a little teaser. This country is completely surrounded by Italy, not just on one side or up against the sea. It is completely surrounded. The people there are friendly and warm, and they may even serve you pasta, but they are definitely not Italian. It has absolutely stunning topography, and much of it is vertical. I mean, very vertical. The capital city bears the same name as the country, and it is only about 23 square kilometers in size. That's small. Just to let you know, that is about the size of Manhattan. And yet, no one has ever conquered them, and that is cool.
Yes, so the official name of this very interesting country, and I think the name is even more interesting. So are you ready for this? It is the Serene Republic of San Marino. The name alone sounds like a fairy tale. I think that is so cool.
So let's just call it San Marino because that's going to be a lot to handle and to talk about
Aw.
because I will forget that or butcher it. So San Marino is, let's dig a little deeper into it. We're looking at it on a map as if you're looking at Venice up in the northeast corner. It's south of there along the coast and in 6 miles, but it's about a 3-hour drive from Venice, a 3-hour drive from Florence, and about a 3-hour, 3.5 hour, 4-hour drive from Rome. It's a lot closer miles wise or kilometers wise, but because the roads are small and there's no autostrada that takes you to San Marino, these are country roads that it takes you a long time to get there. So it may look like it should take you about an hour from Florence, but it's almost a 3-hour drive.
Yeah, and it's taken us years to get there. And just to give you a little bit of background on why we're even in this trip, in case you did not listen to our last podcast, we had a really cool opportunity to go to a bucket list concert. Andrea Bocelli, who is one of our faves, we got to see him in Pompeii. And when we were planning our itinerary, it just kind of kept growing and growing. And it ended up being over a month long because we had a hard time getting rid of any of these destinations that have been on our minds for years. And
That's
one
why it
of
grew to
them,
a month.
yeah, yeah, we're like, nope, can't get rid of that one. We have to see that one. Well, one of them was San Marino,
That
and
was
obviously more for Tony than me. So why don't you explain why you wanted to go to San Marino?
so San Marino for me. I like the geeky, weird, quirky kind of locations.
True.
We've done a bunch of these in the past. Um, it's an enclave country, which I'll explain in a second. There's only 3 of those in the world. There's San Marino, the Vatican City, and Lesotho in South Africa. All of them are completely surrounded by another country, so they're encapsulated. You can't get to it unless you go through another country.
It's like they got gobbled up by the bigger country, but still exist.
Except for San Marino's been there a lot longer than Italy was there. So,
True,
we'll talk about
true.
that later. Also, it is a microstate, which is all right. This is where it gets really crazy. Is microstates are not exactly perfectly defined because there's a lot of people that think of them in different respects, but usually it's less than 1 million people, and it also is small in size as well. So just population and size, it has to be less than 1,000 square kilometers. There are 5 of them in Europe alone. There is Andorra, Vatican City, Monaco, and Liechtenstein, and then also San Marino. There's only about 36,000 people in San Marino. So you can, like I already said, it's about the size of Manhattan. So now, granted, there might be millions there, but there's only 36,000 in San Marino. And
Yeah.
part of it is because of the topography.
Yeah. So to put it into perspective, San Marino, it's just, it's larger than the Vatican and Monaco, but it's smaller than the larger countries of Andorra and Liechtenstein. So this was a really big deal for Tony because he actually, I would say, collects these enclave and microstate countries like souvenirs.
Got one left.
Yeah, he only has what, the Liechtenstein is the
Liechtenstein.
only one left. I don't know. It's something that he likes to do. So, yes, we would actually travel across countries, seas, oceans, whatever, to reach one of these countries just so he can check the box, I guess. However, it was really, really cool place to go. I find it fascinating that San Marino, well, they claim, and it's nobody can prove that they're not really, to be the oldest sovereign state and constitutional republic
Oldest republic. Yep.
in the world, which means they've had the longest running continuous operating government. I guess it
Republic. Yep.
hasn't had any kind of upheaval since 301 AD.
That's a long time.
Let that sink in a little bit. It's way long, older than Rome, and I mean it is way, way, way back there. So it's a pretty cool thing to read about the history. And because it's been around for so long, it's so much more bizarre that we don't all know about it.
Right. It's been able to. So let's just talk a little bit as how what you see when you come upon San Marino. Why you're when you're going there, like how have they been able to defend themselves or be able to be a sovereign state for so long at such a small size and not be conquered by somebody like Napoleon ripped through there. Other people have gone through there. How did they keep their government? How did they? They've kept out of all of that trouble. But when you drive up and you see this from 30, 40 miles away, it is a mountain, a giant mountain that just comes up out of nowhere out of the flatlands. It's on the edge of the mountains, but it's just off to the side enough that when you see it, you're like, oh my goodness, that's obviously
That's
San
it.
Marino. That's it. And as you get close, you realize that the city is on one side at a gentle slope, well, not a gentle, it's pretty steep slope up to this high ridge line. And then on the other side, it's a straight cliff wall down to the rest of the Republic of San Marino, which wraps around this tower. And that towering mountain is the city of San Marino. And at the top of those are three towers that have been defensive stalwarts for that place for a long time.
Yeah, it looks exactly like you'd think a fairy tale castle city would look like. It is very imposing when you're driving up to it. It is super cool. And the lower level, there is a larger city down there, and has all the
The
things.
locals.
But yeah, but the mountain itself is just really, really fascinating and stunning to look at. And then you can see, oh, that's why they haven't been conquered. Because how are you going to get up there?
Yep, very steep. And also, they've been very savvy with their political stances and how they stay out of wars and help people out. And they've been financial and they're pretty strong.
Yeah. So the people who live in San Marino, they call themselves the Samarinese. And I mean, interesting, they do speak Italian. And a lot of the restaurants do have pasta and, a lot of the foods that you would find similarly in the larger Italian region that surrounds them. They also use the euro as their currency. But fun fact, they are not part of the European Union. So that's kind of interesting. And then, as Tony already said, the capital city has the same name, which that doesn't get confusing at all. San Marino and San Marino. And
It's
then
like Vatican City.
I guess, I think there's probably a lot of things that are like that. And then the mountain is called Mount Titano. And their climate is, they kind of have warm and hot summers, but they can also have some cooler winters because they do have some of that elevation. And then the town itself, they have a great situation and they are known for their banking, some manufacturing, but tourism is their main industry, which brings it to us.
Because we were two of the approximately 2 million visitors that they see each year. Majority of us coming in the summertime, of course, because want to go see it in the hot, warm summer. It's beautiful. It's just really breathtaking. And it's really close to the Adriatic Sea, which is where we went from there. And we went down to the coast and had a couple days in the Adriatic swimming.
Yeah.
So
On a houseboat.
yes,
But that's another
that's another day.
podcast.
We stayed at a place, because we like to tell people where we were at and things, that we did. We stayed at a place called the Hotel Rosa, which is a really cool place. But let me tell you, I've had this problem before where we were in France and we had to stay in this little tiny village where a lot of the town is off limits to driving. And I started driving and people were yelling and like I was in the wrong spot. So I've kind of got this like PTSD about driving cars in the wrong spot. So this hotel is inside the old city walls.
The Centro Storico.
Yes, thank you. And to get there, you had to drive amongst all the public and the people walking in and out of shops, and you're on their fancy streets. Like they're breathtakingly beautiful streets that are maintained
Skinny
skinny.
cobblestone streets.
And sure enough, I go through this arch. I'm like, oh my God, tell me this is right. This we can't be wrong. And
Well,
I'm
wait,
driving along.
wait, pause. You made we had to pull over because
Yeah.
I'm reading you the directions and you literally didn't believe me and said, I
No.
cannot drive under this archway. Are you kidding me? It
gonna
looks
get in
like a
trouble again.
pedestrian trail. And so we pulled over so that we could read them specifically and we couldn't think of any other. It meant that we had to do that and you were freaking out.
Well, yeah, because it also said from the hotel says when you drive through this town to get here, the police are probably going to pull you over, and if they do, you just have to tell them that you're staying at our hotel. I'm like, there's a lot lost in translation at times, and I was getting a little nervous. Like, I really don't want to get the cops to pull me over in the middle of a downtown historical center
Oh my
of San
gosh.
Marino. So, but we did found the hotel. It was great, the Hotel Rosa. No plug or anything. We just enjoy it, and it was a great place to stay.
Also, kind of funny, we have a stick shift car, and this is a very hilly
Don't
town.
you dare.
And you were trying to drive on this cobblestone road with just pedestrians everywhere and trying to get through the crowd and get up the hill and not kill the car. And then that's embarrassing in front of everybody. It was a little bit tense for a few minutes, but we made it, and it was an amazing hotel. It was just a beautiful place to be. And we booked room 207. So take note of that. We found in reading some reviews, people will give us great information as to which rooms were the best. And we've done this all over the world whenever we're using booking.com or other sites. But what I loved about this hotel website is they actually have pictures of each of the rooms and the numbers next to them, which is very rare. You don't see that very often. So, yes, 207. It had two small balconies. So one of them was big enough for a table and little chairs. And then the other one was just adjacent from the other kind of little bedroom that we had. And that one you could stand out on and look and enjoy the view, but it wasn't big enough to sit on. But it was breathtaking. It was an amazing, amazing place to have a balcony.
The view, just to give you a little, as we were talking about this slanted up hillside, it is just building after building after building going down, and you're up at the peak because the Hotel Rosa is at the very, very top of the mountain, and you get the entire valley for miles and miles and miles of view from these balconies.
Yeah, it is a very spacious and expansive view. And you can kind of get like clouds and the mist in the morning. And it's just very beautiful. And this room was great because it was huge for European standards. We had a big bed in a main room that had a little kind of
Living
bedroom,
room.
little, and then it had like a single bed. And I don't know. Anyway, it was lots of space. And then in the morning, we did a complimentary breakfast, which I always appreciate. So that had like meats and cheeses and pastries, fruit, yogurt, blah, blah, blah.
Very European.
Very European, but even big for European. But I like starting the day out with food. That's good for me because, usually we like to go hiking.
So on the first day that we got there, we were only there for 2 nights, and that's a good amount of time. So that we'll talk about that a little later. But after arriving, we realized that we didn't have enough time to do the hike, the trail above the hotel, because it was getting towards the later part, and we were getting hungry. So we went down to the shops and restaurants instead. And when I mean down, you go down the street to the right, then you go down the street to your left, and you go down the street to your right. You're back and forth zigzagging, like as if you're going up a mountain pass on a road, because that's how the roads are and all of the shops. And there's even 2 elevators, or there might be more, but there's 2 for
I
sure.
think there are more.
And on that day, we didn't take any. But you definitely, these locals, when they come into town, they go and they use these elevators to escape having to do half an hour of walking up some of these roads.
Yeah, before we realized there were elevators, we were like, what the heck? How do people live and work up here? That's absolutely crazy. So, yeah, it does kind of like snake down, but then there's cut throughs and cool little bridges and some fun things like that. It's definitely a labyrinth of twisty and narrow streets.
The cut throughs were cool. Like we had one where it's in the middle of a building there's no streets. There's a street above and a street below, parallel to the, like sideways to the hill. But then it's like a cut through in the building with a ceiling of like 5, 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to like crouch down and make this cut through right through the middle of a building and then come out on another street.
Problem was we didn't always know where those were. So we would go down really long streets. And I think at one point we were looking for a shop. Wasn't it on this street somewhere? And we would walk and walk and walk. And I don't know, it's a little tricky, but it's very cool. And it's a very beautiful town. It's probably one of the cleanest and most pristine cities that I've ever seen. I really think that the architecture is very stately, and it was obvious to me that there was a lot of money. There's a lot of money in that place because those buildings they're not dilapidated whatsoever. There's a high level of maintenance. It was just really, really beautiful.
There wasn't a piece of trash anywhere. Never once saw anything. It was so clean. Um, and walking around, one of the things that we did is we were, you look at the shops, a lot of these tourist towns, you see they're the same thing, store after store with all the little trinkets, but not in this town. Because like every fourth or fifth shop, it was guns or knives. And Julie and I are like looking at you like, what is going on here?
What do we miss?
Yeah, there's a lot of guns for sale in these shops. And we asked around and talked to
And
them.
weaponry, like
Like weaponry.
big, huge, I don't know, swords and stuff.
So we had to Google it to find out the answers, but some of the things that we're seeing that we thought were full-on guns were probably pellet guns or some kind of a air rifle, soft air rifle, which are big and popular as well. But they have a history of, when you're not a part of the EU and you don't have to follow their rules, you get to do different things. So they can sell guns, they can sell things that they want. Also, they had a really cool thing that we walked by, and I wasn't going to talk about this, but there was this big pit, maybe 100 yards long, sunken down, and it had tables and had targets at one end. I'm like, what in the world are they shooting here? Because they're not shooting rifles and guns. They were for crossbows. Their line of defense for this towering town for the longest time was bows and arrows and crossbows from up on the hill, and they still have these shooting lanes where they go out and practice.
Yeah, I think they enjoy their long history of their independence and self-governance. And so, oh, and they also have really relaxed firearm laws,
True.
according to what we found out. And they did say that a lot of the guns that we saw were probably replicas and for collectors and things like that. So, can't you just imagine bringing your child into a shop and say, "Come on, honey, let's get a nice gun to bring back with
We did
you."
not buy any guns or knives, even though they were tax-free. If everything there is tax-free if you want it. So
Yeah, just like Andorra. That's what I remember from Andorra. Their tourism was so big because were tax free. So people would cross the border to go shopping there and get all they needed, and then they'd cross back. So I think San Marino was a little bit like that. But one of the things that we did for fun was we found a geocache, which I don't remember if we've talked about this too much
A
in our
little.
podcasts
we're
before.
going to talk more about it in a future podcast.
Yeah, but it is something that we like to do, especially at least one in every new country, because
Light it up.
then Tony can say that he found a geocache in that country. But we did one called an adventure lab, and that one is kind of, I don't, how would you describe it? It's got like
So
5 parts or something to it.
So an adventure lab, and people are like, "What are you talking about? This is geeky." Okay, we're geeks.
No, you're a geek.
Okay,
I'm not a geek.
I'm a geek. An adventure lab is a kind of geocache where you're not going to go and sign a logbook and find trinkets in a container somewhere. What it is you have to geographically get to a certain point in this town, and we did. And when you step into that zone through the phone app, it tells you, okay, you've now reached your spot, and it gives you questions that you have to answer about a new location. You have to walk and navigate to that spot. You have to find a plaque or a sign or something in that area, and they're usually taking you to a really cool spot, something else to see in that city or town or countryside or wherever it is. And then you have to answer questions, then get credit, and then you answer the question and get it right. When you get it right, they give you a new location you have to go to. You go to another spot, you got to answer more. And when you get the series, there might be 20 parts, there might be 3 parts. This one was a 5-part adventure lab, and it took us around the town, which is really cool because it was taking us to places that we might not have seen in our walking.
Oh, no, definitely. We wouldn't have seen some of those places, and they were really pretty. And if you're a gamer or you're competitive or you just don't like to wander with no, destination in sight, then this is kind of a fun thing to try because it is a little bit of a challenge and it's unique, and then it does give you some history. And but your exploration has a little bit of a reason, and so we enjoyed doing that. That's
We'll
fun.
we'll talk a lot about it in a future podcast that we're developing. Um, so this was a Friday night when we got there, and we enjoyed happy hour out on a central patio of a restaurant.
Lots of good happy hours there.
They're great, and they give you so much food. They give you like a full-on course meal, like when you sit down just to order one cocktail. We set up right next to a guy that was doing the DJ, and he started while we were there, and his name is DJ Met. And we had the most fun talking to him and learning about San Marino. He grew up right there in town in the capital, and we stayed in touch. We are still in touch now and communicating, and it was good because he gave us recommendations for, listen, if you want to go to dinner, go to this place. It's all locals, and we're like, all right. It was kind of off the beaten path a little bit, down some streets that we never would have found.
Yeah, and everybody looked at us like, "Who the heck are you, and where did you come from?" It's kind of funny. But on that particular night, after our happy hour, it wasn't really time for dinner yet. So we are like, "What should we do?" And Tony says, "I want to get a tattoo." I'm like, "What? Now?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, I think there's a tattoo shop nearby," which he looked up and thought there's no chance that they're going to be open or that they're going to be available. But oh, nope, to his happiness, there was Matilda who had her own little shop. She just started her own tattoo business. She was adorable and she was available and totally willing to take his photo that he had taken and start kind of developing a tattoo idea, which was very spur of the moment for you, actually, I
It was
thought.
cool. It was the when we drove up on San Marino from a distance, we stopped and took some pictures of the profile of the town and the hill with the towers, and we'll talk about them in a minute. But it was cool, and it was a unique angle because almost always you see a certain view of San Marino. It's from the backside on the other side of the cliff. We'll talk about that in a minute. But this angle was different. It was a side angle, and you got to see the sheer cliff drop off in this profile. So I showed her my photo, and then she took it and traced it and made an exact replica of my photo
Just
and
the outline.
the outline. So it's just a simple line, but it's something I think I might be doing in the future is getting travel tattoos of profiles of cool locations that we travel to. Yay.
Yeah, so this is your third tattoo. I have zero. I don't know what it would take for me to get one, but it hasn't moved me yet. The spirit hasn't moved me to get one. But anyway, so that was cool. You got your tattoo. Although I also thought it was unique that you did it at this point in time because we were literally heading to the sea the next day.
I know. That was dumb.
And that meant you couldn't go in the water.
Yep, that was a dumb move. When we went down to the Adriatic a day and a half later, Julie got to go in the wonderful 80-degree warm Adriatic, and I sat on the shore up to my waist, not going on because it was an arm tattoo. And oh, there you go. That wasn't
If you know
not a lot
Tony and
of
how much he
forethought.
loves
Oh,
swimming, I was like, you dummy, but
I had
that's
already
okay.
lit up the Adriatic for my collecting CISO so many times, so we're
Oh,
good
yes.
there.
Did we mention that he also collects C's? So enclave microstates and C's are his
And travel
fun.
tattoos now, so we're adding to the
You
collection.
have too many collections. All right. Well,
So when the sun set and DJ Med had told us this place we went to, it was called Ristorante Ritrovo de Lavatori. No, it's not a bathroom. It's a restaurant. I don't exactly know what that translates to, but it is.
laboratory.
It sounds like bathroom. We went in, and it's like, when you've seen an old movie where you walk in and the record or the piano or whatever just goes screeches to a halt, and every eye in the place looks at you. Well, that's what it felt like because everybody in that room, and there was probably close to 80 people in there
It
at
was
least,
full.
they all looked at us like you're not from San Marino, but they were super friendly, seated us, and we had an incredible meal. It was really cool.
And we were like 2 people at a table, and everybody else was a table of 6 or 8 or 10. It was clearly where families would come and they would be served family style with big, huge bowls of different kinds of pastas on the table. And we just had our 2 little things. And I don't, it was interesting to just kind of be a fly on the wall in that room and just kind of look and see how family life was in San Marino. It's
Here's
neat.
here's a tip for you as well, because we were freaking out. We didn't have our wallets with credit cards on us, and taking so many photos, walking around town and doing sunset photos up on the boardwalk up above, right before, because the area for taking photos is great, amazing, on the western side. We were almost out of battery on my phone, and I was not aware how it works, but I needed to pay by tap on my phone. It was the only option we had, and I was down to 1% as the bill was coming. Like, can we get the bill? Can we get the bill? I need to pay.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're gonna like be washing dishes or something here in San
I think
Marino.
you actually went up to her and said, "Can I please pay right now?" Even though we weren't even done, and she was kind of thought that was a
Yeah,
little
it
bit
was like
rude. We're like,
mid-meal.
"No, you don't understand." And I don't think I even brought mine or something.
No,
Or was our phones might have both being almost dead. We had just had a long day of driving and taking photos, and we actually did kind of go in to sleep early that night because we were really tired, and we were laying in bed, and there's loud techno music. We're like, "What the heck is that?" And there was some giant festival going on.
tech festival, and shame on us because we look for that kind of stuff. We always try and find out what's the festival in town, what's new. That this was EPDM. This is techno music. It was techno music at a very high pace and very loud, and it was about a quarter mile away, so we could hear it.
I don't think I would have gone to that anyway in hindsight, but I had no trouble sleeping that night whatsoever. Didn't matter. Yeah, so the next day we had big plans to do our special hike. So we got up early. We had our coffee on that beautiful balcony with the view. I mean, honestly, you could just stay there the whole day and watch like the colors change throughout the day on that patio. It was so pretty. But we were really lucky because the Hotel Rosa is situated, like Tony said earlier, at the top of the town. And literally, it's right out our back
It's
door.
100
The
yards.
hike starts right there to the three magnificent towers, and it couldn't be any more convenient.
So let's explain the towers. There's 3 towers, and they're spaced out along the long ridge, which is the mountaintop, and it's very much a ridge, because on one side it is a straight down cliff, the entire side. And these 3 towers were erected in, I think, 11th century, 13th century, and 14th century. And this is the iconic view of San Marino. If you've ever seen it or heard about it or seen a photo, you're seeing a photo from the Adriatic side with this sheer wall and 3 giant towers that were you'd think that were castles, but they're not. They were watchtowers and prisons. And these towers are on their coat of arms and they're on their flag. So it's very representative of their country.
Yeah. And we got up early because we like to do this. It is always the best opportunity to get photographs, not only with the early morning light, but also before a million people show up in your photo. And we had no more gotten a bunch of photos, and school buses with like
Oh
50
my
or 60
gosh.
kids started dumping out. We're like, oh my goodness, thank gosh that we got these photos because it was just crazy after that. They were running everywhere.
The very last photos we were trying to get were like, wait, 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 because it was kid after kid after kid in every photo. So
Yeah, you have to be very patient if you're gonna try to show up somewhere in the middle of the day if you want to get photos that are special and by yourselves. But we also were able to send up the drones a little bit. You want
yep,
to talk about that?
yep. Sent some drones up and got some good views. I did that at like 6:30 in the morning. There was nobody out. You couldn't hear them. They were on the backside. I flew them off the backside, the cliffside, so it wasn't interrupting anybody or it wasn't flying over anybody. It was beautiful.
Yeah, you actually did that when I was still enjoying my coffee. I'm like,
Yep.
nah, you can go do that for a little bit. Yeah, so the hike itself, it's wooded and lovely. You're kind of in a glade for a little while. It's very, very beautiful. You get to see over the other side of the mountain when you're up there. So the views are spectacular, and it's just a really lovely hike. You can go into one of the towers, has a really spectacular museum. Unfortunately, we had so much packed into a few days. We didn't have as much time there as we wanted, and we needed to head out to our next destination. So we didn't have time to wait for
We kind
that
of opted out against it anyways. I think we were gonna like, you know what? We don't need to see the inside of it. We kind of got a
I
feel
don't
for
know.
what it is.
I like to see the inside because I like to be more informed. And when I'm at a special place like that, I do like to take advantage of it and to learn about it a little bit more. But it wasn't in the cards for us this particular day. But San Marino was really, really beautiful. I was a little indifferent about
You
whether or
didn't
not.
even remember where we were going hardly. You're like, what is this place? Why are we going?
Well, I just knew that it was your enclave microstate that we had to see. And I didn't really know that much about it, but it was definitely a highlight of the trip. It was really beautiful. We've talked to a lot of people and recommended that you should go. And I mean, there are a lot of other things to do there. There's the lower city, there is a cable car that you could ride, there's some zip lining. There are really beautiful churches, and some other remarkable museums as well. So there's a lot to do that we haven't actually mentioned because some of it we didn't get to do. But we do encourage you to go check out our Instagram and our Facebook pages because we have a lot of photos of San Marino on there. So if you want to visualize or see, what we did and what it looks like, you can check those out.
So we've been back for a little bit now, a month. And in that time, when we were over there, we were posting on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and stuff. We actually had some listeners, some friends that were planning a trip to Italy. And I get back and I'm going and I having coffee with them. And they said something. They're like, "Oh, yeah, we're going to go to San Marino." And I'm like, "What? You're going to San Marino?" And I'm like, "That's amazing. We were just there." She goes, "Yeah." I go, "Why are you going to San Marino?" She goes, "Because you talked about it and it looked amazing on the photos and the pictures that we were posting." So we have people that follow this that have now already planning. They're going in September here to San Marino.
See, people are listening and watching.
So we gave them some good insights. I bring back home every map, every business card from every restaurant. So I gave them a bunch of stuff so that they're gonna go. I told them exactly where their hotel was, where to park, different things. It was because it's not that big of a town, but 2 days they're gonna be there for 2 nights like we were. It's a perfect amount of time. Maybe a third night might be nice because then you can really delve into the town and some of the businesses and things and spend a little bit more time than just trying to see it all.
Yeah,
Because
it's always nice because when you have that much time, then you can just slow down and relax and enjoy and soak up your destination, and you'll find things to do. Absolutely. It's
get a
not like there
tattoo.
isn't. Yeah, get a tattoo. But also, if you're listening to this and you are planning a trip and you get some of your ideas from us, please let us know. Like that just really makes our day when we know that any information that we're sharing is hitting home and it's meaning something to you and it's helping you to create special memories.
And I know that we asked for engagement. One thing that we would really appreciate is if instead of leaving us a review on this podcast episode, give us a review of our overall website of podcast, like just Me and Her Travels podcast. You can give a review on that, in general, not just about each episode. Which, if you want to listen to This Is 18, listen to all 18 and give reviews on all of them. Would love that. Thank you. Thank you. And follow us on all the other socials. Some way, shape, or form, it's the same name, Me and Her Travel, on all of them. You can find us. If you know us by now and you've seen the icon on your Spotify, Apple, or YouTube, or wherever you're finding us, it's a blue silhouette background with us, Julie and I, holding hands. In fact, small little cool tidbit, that photo was taken in another microstate, Andorra.
It was taken
Our
in
daughter
Andorra.
took that photo of us holding hands while we were just standing on the side of the road, and it was turned into a very cool silhouette and turned into our logo.
Yep, that was cool. That's a good tie-in.
Yeah.
Yeah, those little
All right.
microstates.
So thank you very much for listening. We hope that you'll stay tuned for next episodes. We got some good ones coming up. Until then,
Wheels up.